We're with Brent Stewart. He's the founder of Stewart Law Offices. We're at the Beaufort office. Brent, let's begin with the difference between workers' comp and personal injury. I sometimes really get them confused, and I think probably the general public does as well. So I know that's what you handle. So kind of drill it down for us in layman's terms.
All right, I can talk like I can talk simple. I'm good at that. So, workers' comp. There's no negligence. There's no fault that matters. If you're injured on the job and there's an employee-employer relationship, you have the right to workers' comp. If you're not working for somebody and you fall on somebody else's property, or if you're in a wreck and somebody else hits you, then you need to prove that they were negligent and that there is some degree of fault to get a recovery. So no fault is workers' comp. Fault is a third-party auto comp in cases like that are not employer-employee based.
Okay, that's good. That's easy to understand. And so let's go into the damages, the type of damages first for workers' comp that you could receive.
Well, for workers' comp, it's purely your medical bills, your wages while you're out of work, your medical treatment should be covered, you should be covered for mileage back and forth to the doctor, and in the end, you should be paid an amount that makes you whole for the inability to work that is caused by those injuries. So that's workers' comp. That's the non-fault based method. With fault, if it's not an employer, they add other elements. And these are kind of more non-economic elements, like you can get pain and suffering, loss of enjoyment of life. If you're injured and you're married, your spouse can have a consortium claim, which is getting paid for the losses of your services. So when you add the fault part with a non-employee relationship, then you add these more non-economic damages.
Okay. So share with us the different types of personal injuries that could happen.
Well, some of the personal injuries are the same in both. You can slip and fall with your employer, you can slip and fall with a third party. So that's one way to be injured. There's medical malpractice. You can be hurt with a doctor. There are nursing home negligence cases where somebody's not taking care of the elderly properly. There are cases against playgrounds for faulty equipment and faulty maintenance. Sometimes people will look at it like, I fell and it's because of the steps not the right size or whatever. So that's one way to do a slip and fall. But there's also, if they don't maintain the area. So the big storm just recently, with the ice here in Beaufort, you have a duty, if you have notice of the ice, you have a duty to remove it. So while the step may be absolutely perfectly made, if you don't maintain it properly, then that could open you up for liability as well.
Right. All right, so basic question, who can you sue?
Well, you have to sue. Well, it's your employee, you sue the employee, or employer sues the employee. But if it's a third party, say you fell at my office building. Okay. All right, you fell coming up my steps. Okay. You would think you could sue Stewart Law Offices, but the building, if it's owned by a corporation, then you may be stuck suing the corporation. So then you see the corporation, you find out the corporation has hired somebody to manage the property. Then you may want to add the manager. So that's why it's a good reason to talk to an attorney up front, so you can figure out who actually is responsible for your injuries, because sometimes it's not just abundantly clear.
Right, so let's go more with that, the importance of talking to an attorney up front. And what kinds of questions are they going to ask you in the beginning?
Well, the first thing we'd ask is where it took place, when it took place. When it took place is important for deadlines. We have specific deadlines we want to file by and give notice by. So where, when, and how, the basic questions of everything else is what we ask. And then with how, we have to determine whether or not there's negligence, whether there is something that makes somebody responsible for your injuries.
All right, so what about timeline with a workers' comp as opposed to personal injury claim? Is one shorter than the other? I guess it depends on the situation.
Well, overall comp is shorter. You have 3 years in South Carolina to bring a personal injury action outside of workers' comp. Under workers' comp, you have 2 years to file. You're supposed to put your employer on notice within 90 days, or you could be barred. However, if it's over 90 days, you still need to talk to an attorney because there are rules that bar the case. So you may do it on the 95th day and still be okay, even though you didn't give notice in the 90 days. So that's another reason it's important to call a workers' comp attorney to help you with those situations.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Brent. Our time
Thank
is
you.
up. Brent Stewart with Stewart Law Offices.